right, I'm gonna go ahead and crank that music down just a little bit, at least. Let me also turn it down on my own side. There we go. Welcome, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. As you can see here, I've got a bit of a quest going on here today. A few different items that I just want to get done. I'm hoping to release my Steam page here pretty soon. So let me go ahead and just get everything set up. I should have that all going. All right. Sweet. All right. Let's go to our missile system V2. All right. Okay. So I'm trying to think. When we come in here, right, we're going to construct our entire missile system. And then what I want to do right here, somewhere at the end, once we've constructed everything, so this is completed, come through here, whether it's valid or not. Calculate total fuel, current engine. All right. And then after these, this is where I want to set up the current velocity. So let's go here and go main, go set velocity. Let's see here, velocity. Can I not update this? Oh yeah, this. There's a few changes. Let's see here. And maybe because we're in the construct script. Okay, I wonder, can I set this? Yeah, I can do velocity in local space. Yeah, that's just the current velocity of the update component. So let's do this. And then we're gonna get the current velocity of our parent. So we'll just make that a variable. We'll just call that a vector. Let's do starting velocity. Welcome. Howdy, everybody here. right. So we've got our velocity variable here. We're just going to make that instance editable, expose on spawn. So let's go to our missile tubes. All right, when we're getting told to fire the missile, we'll also just pass in refresh. No. All right. I'm just gonna grab a velocity vector here. And call that like parent velocity. Of type vector. Pass it as the starting. All right, and then the player. Well, I guess player is one of the ones who can fire it off. So when we fire that missile, go. We're actually doing it through launch. That's fine. So we tell them to launch. So we're going to also then say, give us our velocity here. So in our BPI, let's get ourselves a launch velocity. All right. So from here, we'll just grab our hull and we'll get velocity. Get component velocity. Plug that in. There we go. And then our missile tubes are going to pass that in. And bam. Let's see. Let's see if that works. If it does work, we should see a good little bit of velocity here. Probably gonna hear some double music from the game as well as my own music playing. But let's go ahead and let that all load up. Yeah, it's gonna be over budget because I'm streaming while this is running. So let's let that load in for a second. All right. Yeah, it's real chugging along. GPU must be cranking on these streams. Let's see here. All right. Let me also crank down my settings. Yeah, it's at the max mode. Let's pop that down to the lowest. That helped quite a bit. There we go. All right. Yeah, I think the virtual shadow maps are turned on, and that's also partly why. Welcome, welcome. All right. Let's go ahead and get ourselves a locked target. Also, why are we not getting a target here? All right, let's go ahead and refresh. Since we did update the settings there, that might just be from before. All right. There we go. All right, so those are all going to turn and look. And then what we're going to want to do is let's start going forward. That'll tell us for sure. All right, and then we'll go ahead and fire off some missiles. Let's see if that's had any effect. No, they're still going backwards through the ship. Okay. So, if we can't set velocity, let's see here. Welcome, welcome. No wonder. Can we just manually set the velocity here? See if that gives us any benefit. Alright. Alright, that actually worked. Okay, perfect. So we can give him a little forward velocity there. And we're still getting funky ones flying off which way. Not sure why. Like, what is that one doing? But the majority are going the right way. Let's follow some in. Yeah, see, there we go. They flip and burn toward the 0, which in theory they should just grab a track right in front of them. So that might be what we work on next. So now we got them following along, so let's go ahead and update the text here. All right, that's now fixed. And the missing target thing, they were actually pretty well spot on, so we're going to read that as well. Alright. So one thing I want to do is when they lose target, rather than just slewing back to 000, what I think we'll want them to do is actually aim just straight forward. So let's do this. If it's not valid, yeah, see, it just calls death, but, well, what if, okay, so they're passing the enemy, turn around and come back towards it, and then they're exploding because they passed the enemy. That's fine, I think, then. That should all be good. So let's go ahead and just give it a bit of a UI element then. So we're going to go create in here. We're going to go to UI. Widgets. Don't want to put in, no, I'll make a separate folder for missile. Or we'll call this identifier. And let's go ahead and add a widget, user interface, widget blueprint. Oh, widget preview, that's new. Widget blueprint. Yeah, just be a regular widget. I can't think of any benefit to any other kind. Widget blueprint. Identifier. And let's see, screen space to local. I know there's a way. Let's see here. So all right. Let's see here. Yes, okay. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is add just a widget like we want. So let me just grab an image. Doesn't have to be anything pretty for now. We'll wrap it in maybe like a size box. I will say min, max. So the smallest we want it to be is like 16 by 16. Maybe like 256. Whoops, 256 by 256, something like that. And we'll set this to desired on screen. All right. In this image, I believe we have an indicator icon. I'll just use this placeholder one for now. All right. Then we'll go to a base missile and we'll add a widget component. There we go. And this will just be our, we'll call this an indicator. Indicator. Say screen. Widget class is going to be identifier. Draw desired size. Go ahead and so we got a little crash. Let's see. Base value, property. We'll set and close that and restart. All right. Let's see here. All right. Let's reopen these and let's see here. So it was not a big fan of compiling this base missile with that widget. Man, yeah, it really didn't like that widget. Completely removed it from it. The interaction with widget post like you simulate this device. Yeah, see, I want that. I'll call this icon. Just there we go. Widget class is going to be identifier. There we go. You see, doesn't. I wonder if it's because we're doing like this. Let's see. Oh yeah, let's open up this and make sure we do. There's a depth test, and we want to disable that. So let's actually open up this. There we go. And then depth test. Here we go. Disable depth test. Close all of these, and that should allow it to render above, but we'll see that when we get here. Actually, still rendering below. I have to disable it on the specific. Yeah, it's not there. Let's see, you got depth here. Nope, it's all the way back at the beginning. See if that, oh, and that caused the engine to crash. Fun, fun, fun. It's funny, this is actually the most I've ever seen Unreal crash. It is really just not liking something about this material. I'll have to see what I can do. All right. All right. Yeah, so I won't worry about this too much for now. Let's just go back and look at our widget icon here. So I want this to be looking at the player. Welcome, welcome. All right. Let me set the screen. It just vanishes. Up the draw size. Is that the problem? No. So why is it just vanishing? Let me see if I just drag one of these missiles in, just to see if it's because it's in the editor. We do game view. No, yeah, it's just invisible. Howdy, howdy, welcome, welcome. Why is it invisible? switch it to screen space. Okay. That's weird. Okay, so you just can't see it outside of PIE, which, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I was hoping to visualize it at least. Let's go ahead and hit play. Jump into the game. All right. Let me do the same trick as last time. Just crank down the settings temporarily. Because I think virtual shadow maps is accidentally turned on, which that is killing the quality. Performance. Yeah. That immediately got better. So yeah, it's definitely to do with the shadow maps. Alright. So let's go ahead and let's see what that widget looks like. Okay, awesome. Got little widgets following. Then we just gotta worry about setting the color for them, which that's easy enough. Friendly will be green, probably with some kind of like name or indicator or something, but we can set that all up later. All right. Boom. And we should see them all vanish once the enemy ship is fully destroyed. There we go. Sweet. Welcome, welcome. I'm also streaming on YouTube for those of you watching on TikTok. I mostly stream on YouTube just because it's a little bit easier right now, especially with me being a little bit new to TikTok. But if you want to check me out, follow me there. All right. So I like this. Let's go ahead and just set up some very basic stuff when the construction happens. Let me remove all these because there's just too much going on right now. All right. So when the construction strip fires, let's actually go to the end here. We'll also say icon, set image. Actually, we have a, go to the UI element, save all this. Go back here, UI, widget, missile. I didn't put it under the designer, did I? Oh, identifier, there we go. So let's go here, and what we're gonna want to do is, so this won't be the final version, but when we add tint to this, it'll change the actual final version. So let's go ahead and treat this as it was. We'll call this icon. Go here, and on. Let's have an event, custom event, update, icon, tint. And let's see, so in the missile, I have a IFF, right? Yes, I have IFF, which I believe I set. I actually don't set it anywhere, it looks like. Okay. Yeah, because I just have the IFF there. I don't actually set it anywhere in here. That'll be something I do later on. So for now, we'll just be fine with it defaulting to friend IFF. So in here, we're going to say IFF. This is going to be the inbound, or sorry, IFF, parent IFF, parent IFF. All right, and we'll do a switch, and we'll have neutral, friend, foe. We'll grab this, get icon, set, tint, brush tint color, yeah. And then we'll make slate color. In fact, actually, we'll probably do that a little differently. We'll make that a variable. Promote to variable. We'll call this neutral. Control V. Control V. And we'll promote these to variable. And that is friend. Promote to variable foe. All right, and let's give it, target the icon and then give it a color each. So neutral, we will just make a sort of white, maybe like a gray, since it's not a friend, not an enemy. For friendly ones, we're gonna make that, you know, the normal bog standard green. And then for the foe, that's gonna be the red. All right. There we go. So we got each of those. Go ahead and save. So now, let's see here. Actually, let me copy paste this and see. This is what the friend one with the, on the final version, I'll have the icon be white to actually make it make the correct color. But for now, we can just see what this looks like. There'll probably be some weird funky color because red and green mixed, so we'll see what it has to say. All right, lock on, we full screen this. Hit M, so see some missiles launch. Oh, and it crashed, okay. Fun. I do love all these crashes. Assertion is valid. Yeah, but where is that happening? Yeah, that's strange. Never seen one quite like that. That's a pretty unique crash. Let's start like this. I wonder if it's the virtual shaders. It's just throwing a weird error because it's not sure what's going on, but we'll see. Go here, project settings, make sure that virtual is turned off. I've been saying virtual textures. Shadow maps, yeah. Why those are on by default, I have no idea. Because that's hella faster. Like, they're a cool new addition, but they definitely make the game way laggier. Of course, I say they make the game way laggier, and suddenly, oh, there it goes. All right. See, now it's on max settings and it's running perfectly fine. But it was not doing so with the virtual shadow maps on, so. Alright. Oh, for some reason I'm not able to get a lock. Why is that randomly just not able to get a lock? It's whenever it takes a while to load. I don't know. I wonder if it's because it's the first time loading in after restarting. Because it doesn't happen in-game when you're actually in a package build. All right. Let's see here. Oh, hey. Hey there, Rodlug. So, basically, it's extremely complicated. It depends on what you want to do and how realistic you want to get, right? If you're cool with going for a more arcadey feel, you could go for something like the flying template that's built into Unreal Engine and sort of tweak it to fit your needs. But if you're like me and you wanted a more realistic, almost like Kerbal Space Program style movement system, a lot of what I've built has been sort of built from the ground up. I actually have a custom movement component that handles my player's movement. Let me actually go ahead and open that up real quick. Let me. Man, it's chugging along. 1 second. Let me. All right. Let me see if I can. Trying to. For some reason, YouTube says there is just not liking whatever I'm doing. Yes, this is just not getting enough stream. I mean, it seems to be coming across fine, so I'll assume y'all can see everything, but YouTube's complaining. Rigid flying system character. So yes and no. They have a flying movement component in the project. So they have a couple of different templates, right? They're like the shooter template and all that give you some like very basic stuff. There's a flying pawn movement component one that has some very basic flying movement controls. I didn't like it enough to really use it myself, so I went ahead and built my own custom movement component. Let me actually go ahead and show you that real quick. Here we go. Let me save something of the real chugging in the background. Okay. So basically I built a system that can handle all of the inputs the player does. So basically the player in the player pawn actually does all of the inputs, right? They, if I open up the player, Here we go. Player. Open up new player pawn. So the player has their own, movement set up. And what they basically do is to my component, I'm passing in the input. So this goes from -1 to 1, and that's for everything. So I have pitch, yaw, thrust, and roll. And then in here, using tick, so this delta, I'm using tick, I'm basically handling that movement. So depending on basically, are they breaking or not? If they're breaking, I do some breaking stuff. So for example, when players slow down, I wanted them to have a way to cancel out their velocity in a way that was a little bit easier for players, because it may not always be clear which direction you need to break in. So I basically set up a very simple right now braking system. Eventually I plan to add some more complexity around it, but it's a very basic braking system. But what they can do is, if they are not breaking, then basically it goes in and it looks at, are there any damaged components? So if your front compartment is damaged in my game, you can't fire your forward engine, to kind of encourage them to send engineers to go repair it enough that they can use it. And then what it does is basically it comes in here and goes, okay, if you're not docked, or in the process of docking, then we update these values. So we have our thrust, translate, pitch, yaw, and roll values. So basically I look at what is the player inputting right at this moment, and then I'm updating it starting from the thrust, then translate, then pitch, then yaw, then roll. I do that in a very specific order for the reason of, if you have conflicting inputs, this is a really good way to sort of handle them, is by having it be in this specific order. So if they're doing two things at once that did conflict, you could handle them that way. And then what I do is I get the player's thrust speed, which this is a bit of a complex function I'll show you here in a second, but I times it by the thrust input. So this is the 0 to 1 to -1. And then I multiply that by the forward vector. So basically it says add force either in the forward vector if they are going forward, or in the opposite of the forward vector. In the forward vector if they're going backwards, in the opposite of the forward vector if they're going forwards. Because if you think about it, a spaceship, if it's shooting flames out the engine out of the back, right, then it's going forward by firing backwards, and vice versa. And the way I get that thrust speed is from an attribute tag that I calculate. And this basically just goes, okay, for the ship, what's the attribute? I set it up this way so I can have different attributes for different size ships and things like that. So that way bigger ships are a little bit slower, take a little bit longer to turn, things like that. But yeah, it's a pretty complex little system. That's why I kind of built it myself. It's sort of just, I made it as flexible as possible so that I can continue adding additional pieces into the movement component system, so that it just keeps growing along with the game. So eventually, like right now, I only basically check if the forward or the rear engine are damaged. So basically, the anti-vector thrust is what I'm doing. And that's the only real thing I check right now, but eventually I'll be able to check, the translation stuff and everything. And yeah, no problem, man. It's a really complex system, so don't expect to learn it in just like one sitting, because there's a whole lot to space physics, as a surprise to nobody. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions you got. Multiplayer. Are you using gas? I'm getting in C++, so I'm not sure when I should go with C++ and blueprints. This is not multiplayer. I may do a multiplayer game next, but for now, this is just a single player because I have a really, what I think at least, is a really well-written story that I want to tell. And so my focus has been single player, get the game out, put it on Steam, and learn from the experience of making a game. This game has been more of a learning project rather than a true money-making project. Because I've made other games before, but not any that I've released publicly, because they were for a university, and the university maintains rights to those games, so we couldn't release them for sale. But this is my first publicly available game, and so I went with single player just to keep it simple. I'm not using gas, but I am using elements of it, like the gameplay tags. So as an example, gas relies heavily on like abilities, and you have tagging and things like that. I really like the gameplay tag system, so I use this for attributes, for UI elements, for a whole bunch of different stuff. And in fact, my entire quest system is going to be built out based on these gameplay tags, because they're a super cool way to track things. And I'm actually doing a tutorial on how to use those gameplay tags to create a quest system. But yeah, it's a really cool system, so that's why I use that part of gas. But I don't use the whole thing because it doesn't really make sense for my game, because the ships are predefined. For example, you're not going to have a railgun cruiser suddenly get the ability to launch missiles. It doesn't necessarily make sense for it. So for me, gas was not as useful. Now, as far as using C++ versus blueprints, that is a much more nuanced thing than I think a lot of YouTubers make it out to be. A lot of the time I tell people, however much of it is on tick or is called frequently, I recommend moving into C++. But if it's something that is not called very often, or something that is very lightweight to call, for example here, if I'm taking a look at this, right, some of this I'm going to convert into C++ once I get some time. But things like this, where I am triggering this braking event whenever the player hits the brake button, this is called a single time when that happens. And all it does is set a bunch of variables to 0, and then do some basic checking to basically turn off the audio and particle systems. And this is such a lightweight thing that spending the time to put it into C++ is probably worth less than the very minuscule amount of savings I'm going to make. Because for something like this, I'm only going to save like on the order of like maybe, if it's lucky, a quarter of a millisecond. And in all honesty, there's a lot better places I can invest my time to make those kind of savings, especially for something that is a triggered thing. It's something that happens only once the player triggers it. So it's extremely infrequent. Where you want to look for your biggest savings are going to be things that are triggered frequently, things that are done on tick. So as an example here, right, I've got my ship tick. This is actually something that is done on the tick. I'm not doing it on component tick because I could be doing it on the event tick in the component, but I'm choosing to specifically call this in my player pawn on the player pawn tick, because I want to make sure that I can control it from my player's tick. If I ever want to turn off the tick or anything like that, it's significantly easier, in my opinion, to just do it directly from the player than it is to do it from within components. But yeah, but I did a little bit of an example a while back. Basically, if you ever have anything that's done on a low count timer and is more complex than, say, this, anything that's even slightly more complex than that, you probably want to do it in C++. For example, I do all of these here in Blueprint, mostly as a way to prototype because it's real fast. But with the exception of like the tag stuff that's built into my Blueprint side of things, I'm probably going to convert a lot of this to C++, like especially the ship tick. If I ever get to the point where I'm ready to convert this over to C++, this whole big old chunky thing is going to get turned into C++, and it's going to make my life a lot easier. Although I will say a cool thing recently, a lot of people have been starting to look into is actually they made a way. I actually haven't done it myself yet, but I know there's a way to group ticks together. So the cool thing with grouping ticks together is that you get sort of that benefit of instead of a component tick being called, let's say you've got 100 actors, right, that all have the same exact component. Instead of calling each component separately every single tick, what it does is it groups them together and knows what calculations they're doing in a group, and it sort of groups that calculation cost together. And while it's not like a 100% savings, it's still, from what I've seen in the early testing, is quite a bit of savings. But yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask. I'll keep working away here. All right. So I've got my missile now has that. icon. Let's go here. So let's see. So I'm not. So I'm firing this. I'm not actually giving it a, IFF, which I don't think is a huge deal for now. But why is it not getting a different color? Yeah, no problem, man. I really like spreading information, and I feel like far too many people try to paywall education in Unreal Engine, and my goal has always been to teach the things people don't know enough about, or to make things simpler and easier for people to hopefully understand. So that's always been my goal with my channel, is to just teach as much as I can to as many people as I can. So hopefully you like the videos and they're useful. As far as my game, basically the short synopsis is KSP but with guns. So the idea is there's an actual campaign that's going to have a storyline. Basically, the player is a captain that is a demoted admiral. He was given an old piece of crap ship, essentially, that was supposed to be scrapped, but they decided that since he was getting demoted, he would be sort of a test bed for them taking these old vehicles and replacing the internals with just whatever they could find that was at least more recent or even experimental. And so you start off as the captain of the ship, and the goal is you're supposed to be at least sent out to fight a bunch of pirates out around Neptune, because there's no kind of FTL. You're stuck at real-time speeds. So they send you out to Neptune, and the game sort of starts off with a big cataclysmic event. Without spoiling too much, basically shit hits the fan, and what was supposed to be a small fleet of outdated ships quickly just becomes you as the player, and the Port Winston is what it's called. That's basically your home base from now on, and that's sort of just the synopsis of the how the game starts. Let's see here. I'm seeing some weird lagginess with the engine. It's been acting up. I have to give it a good old smack around. Yeah. So I am totally on board with people buying assets and things like that, but I personally prefer to model everything myself. I've done almost everything in the game myself, with a couple of exceptions, and most of that's like some paid asset. No worries, I can work and talk at the same time. I like to talk when it's something that I enjoy. But yeah, so all the assets I made myself. This is sort of based off of an inspiration from. There's a book series called Honor Harrington. Honor Harrington is the character's name, but it is the For Honor series. But basically, it's somebody rising up through the ranks of a futuristic space military. Basically surviving on their own, beset both politically and by other militaries. The character has to fight her way up. It's a pretty cool series, and they focus a decent amount on realism, especially for a book series that I believe started in the 90s. They have a lot of really cool attention to detail. So I've always been a big fan of that, and so it sort of inspired the sort of cigar shape of the ship, because a lot of the ships in that book series are more cigar shaped, because that's a more realistic shape in terms of combat, although they do lean into the naval warfare, having guns along the side. And so I kind of leaned into that myself, but in a slightly more modern way, by having barbettes sticking out a little bit, rather than they actually have them built into the side of the ship, and only shooting broadside, which I felt was a little bit out of date. So, but yeah, let's see here. But yeah, that's all good. And yeah, don't worry, you're not stopping me from working. It tends to be my own excitement over communicating and education that tends to get in my own way when it comes to talking with people. So on construction, right, I'm setting... Oh, And there's the problem. That's why the icon wasn't changing color. I never actually called the function to update that. Let me actually go make sure. What's that function called? Widget missile identifier. Update icon tint. That's why. I never actually called it here. Update icon. Update tint. Oh, that's right, because this is just a widget component. So we say cast to, since we know it'll be loaded whenever this thing is loaded, we'll just do cast to widget blueprint. Huh. That's weird. Is it because it's an object reference? What if I do get using Blender for your model? Yeah. So I use Blender. It's a very easy system to get into. So that's why I like Blender. I know that it's got its downfalls, and some people like some things about other programs, and some people like, specific things. But for me, I've always been a fan of Blender just because it's free, open source. You can add plugins as you go. It's super handy. So I love Blender myself. And it really is, like, if you're not really a 3D modeler like myself, I don't consider myself a very good 3D modeler. It's got a lot of really good tools to help make your life just that little bit easier. Cast to identify. There we go. Okay, so I just had to grab the get widget cast identifier, and we'll just call that update icon tint. And this is a friend, which we'll just plug that in so that later on we don't have to worry about updating that later. So the parent IFF, plug that in. All right, so let's go ahead and spawn it and see what this does. It does seem like the editor lag went away. I wonder if it was crunching on some shaders in the background or something. Could also be my GPU dying. My GPU's been acting a little jank lately. All right, let's see here. There we go. Grab this and let's launch some missiles. It's not going to look like the colors we set, but mostly just because it's already red to begin with. Okay. Now the game just hates me. What's going on, Unreal? So I've set the identifier, right? So I got my icon. Let's go here. Is it to do with the tint if I'm setting this to green? Yeah, that's not, I mean, that's changing it, so it should be changing it in game. Let's go ahead and add a breakpoint, and we'll just see what happens when we fire it. Let me just go here, F11, Alt P. See what that does. I want to trigger that breakpoint so we can see where it actually breaks down. And it never actually fires. Okay. So that at least tells me something there. Since that breakpoint never triggers, that means we're not actually getting to this point. Which I don't know why, because that's all triggering. Oh, did I not actually? No, okay, so I added it here. So update icon tint. Is it? It's casting here, and it's not actually. Icon. Let's see. I wonder if it's failing here. I wonder if that's the problem. So let's just do this, and then we'll add a breakpoint here. And that'll tell us what widget it's getting back and why the cast seems to possibly be failing. Let's lock on and launch, and we should see breakpoint here, hopefully. Okay, there's our breakpoint, perfect. And of course I am in full view mode, and it doesn't like that, so let's actually just unfull view. Because I'm a dingus, and I forgot to unfull view before the breakpoint hit. If breakpoint's hit while you're in full view for some reason, it just doesn't want to take you out of it. So, alright. Give that a second to load in. There we go. And let's hit M. Speaking of which, I need to take away some of those debug strings because I know those kind of get in the way. Alright. So we're looking at get widget, unknown class. Move forward one. Okay, yeah, so it is failing. It's saying unknown though. I'm like, this shouldn't be unknown because icon, it should be a known widget. Let's do get widget. Yeah. Either widget is supposed to widget component. If it will be null if a slate widget was set using set slate widget function. Okay. So if I've got this set, why is it failing? So I'm saying get widget, widget pick blueprint identifier. Oh, why did it? Yeah, I know. I am aware. I know how these work. The engine added a bunch of these new things so that it warns you if you're trying to cast the things all the time. But I'm aware that this is going to always be loaded because that's okay for it to always be loaded. I wonder if it's because this is in the construction script. Why don't we move this out? I wonder if because the blueprint needs to construct before, like the construction needs to finish before the widget will actually be loaded. So let's go here to our begin play, which I need to organize. The missile blueprint is kind of a mess right now. Wonder, can I just, no. Yeah. So let's convert this to a pure because I know that this will always be an identifier, so I'm not worried about it failing because it should never fail. So. All right. Give that a second to load in. There we go. And let's fire these off, and we should see some icons. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now they're the correct color. So it was because we were making it in the construct, and these look hideous, but that's because they're trying to mix red and green. In the actual final version, the icon, whatever icon I end up going with, is going to be something completely different. In fact, I know I have an icon somewhere. I just don't know where that icon is. It's not that one. Like, I can look real quick. I got a second. UI mats. Yeah, it's gonna be probably somewhere in here because this is all my old UI elements that some of them I'm using elsewhere, some of them I am not. I need to clean up this thing because it's a little gnarly. A lot of old things. Let's see. I don't see it in here, so let's go to our. Wouldn't be in the miscellaneous, will it? No, some of these are out of date, but I don't think it's in here. Oh, wait, actually, it could be in here. No, this is the fleet targeting UI, but I wonder if I have a reference somewhere in this old thing. Yeah, create data cards, sub UI. I'm trying to think. I think I had some UI elements. Maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, it's all crew stuff. Old widgets. That's all the radial key bindings. Let's see here. Changes make. Yeah, that's all. Oh, yes. If I go to the old player pawn, I bet I can find it. All right. Yeah, because what I need is... oh, yes. So it's going to be on the old AI because it's going to be... I bet it's even in here. Yep, detected widget. This is the one I was looking for. So detected widget. There we go. So it's the exclusion 2, which, where the hell does that live? Okay, it does live in here, but it's almost invisible, as you can see. So let's grab that and put it in the identifier. Yeah, there we go. This needs to be white, though, and it's like sort of transparent blue. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the easy way and we're going to remake it. Oh. So for UI and things like this, I like to use Figma. I have the free version because you can do a hell of a lot with it. There's also a paid version if you're willing to go that far. I do damn near almost everything in here, as you can see. Let's go to our crosshair here, because I like our crosshair. But what I want to do for this is just remove these middle bits. And then let's make these maybe a little bit thicker. I wonder what's corner radius going to do if I do. Okay, it doesn't do anything for this. Good, good, good. Yeah, because we'll probably have, depending on the what we do, we'll probably might have some text next to it, depending on what we have, what we're looking at. But we'll do like tabular. This will be identifier. All right. Export. Go back to exports UI elements. Then what we can do is close this and then go back to our UI widgets, UI elements, import. Exports. There you go. Save all. Now, because it's a UI element, we got to make sure that we have it set up correctly in here. So I want to go UI. Oh, that's weird. Invalid material. It's giving me invalid material for something that's not even in here. I know I need to fix that other thing, but I'm not too worried about it right now. Where's the... There's another compression. Here we go. User interface. There we go. Save. And then we'll call this tabular. Oops. Identifier. All right. And there we go. this up. What we should see is now that I replace it with a white one, we should see a green icon instead of that red one. I said you were in university. Are you doing something related to game development or have a kingdom? So yeah, so my degree was digital media, which is basically half computer science, half art. That, or at least that's what my degree was. It was digital media with an emphasis in technology. And that's basically a useless degree for everything except like very niche specific things like UX, which is what I am. I'm a UX UI designer in real life as my job. Game development is my hobby that I eventually want to take full time, but it's something I've been doing game dev for about 10 years because I started getting into game development a little bit after going to college. I've been doing it steady, like in an increased pace over the last 6 months or so. That's really what's led me to decide to finally actually like put my whole heart into this game and release it on Steam, get it done with, get it out there, and move on to the next game. Most of my Unreal Engine learning actually came from Unreal Engine 4. When I was in university, I spent a lot of classes learning Unreal Engine 4, but they were less about actually learning the engine and more about learning like level design, learning UI design, things like that. But the nice thing is they translated really well. Once I graduated, I was able to take what I did know and learn what I didn't know. And I spent a lot of time learning what I didn't know. I'd say a good 5-6 years learning what I didn't know. And that's why I've started releasing more content on YouTube now, is that now that I have a better understanding of what I do know, what I don't know, I've been pushing that stuff. But yeah, Unreal Engine is actually really easy to learn once you learn some core concepts. Think of blueprints like code, and that'll help. Think of components like puzzle pieces. Components are where you want to do most of your actual work on a player character or AI, because then it's reusable. Especially if you build it to be really usable, it'll make your life a lot easier. And just beware that there's a lot of different ways to lose performance, but not a lot of ways to gain performance. So just pay attention to that. Learn things like insights, especially I assume you're going to be either a solo dev or on a small team. There's so many things to learn. It can feel very overwhelming. So just figure out what is the best way that you learn. Are you a visual learner? Are you somebody who watches tutorials to learn? Figure out how you learn best, and then spend as much time as you can learning that way. And that'll help you the most. For example, I'm very much a hands-on kind of person. I will pop up a tutorial and I'll follow along. But once I understand the basics of how something works, I then want to play around with it, make things and do things that I fiddle with until I figure out how it truly works on like a deeper level. Because like understanding that something works is very different from understanding how something works. But yeah, let's go ahead and fire off some missiles here. Now we got that better icon. It should hopefully be green. Yeah, a little big. Let's see, do they actually shrink as they go away? I don't think so, right? Yeah. So let's go in here. I actually don't know if this affects the size at all, or do I need to actually edit it in here? I've not used the screen space widgets too much. Let's shrink these down to like maybe 100 by 100. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see. I like to watch tutorials, but I feel like I would learn more if I have my own thing, but I can't stop creating projects and throwing those away. I don't know what to do. That is game dev in a nutshell. So many people start projects and then throw them away. The best advice I can give you is find a way to hold yourself accountable for getting a project done, even if it's never released, even if it's something that you only put on, say, like itch.io. Find some kind of way to hold yourself accountable. What I do, which I actually need to update today, is I basically have a productivity app, I guess is what you call it. It's called Habit Kit. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but basically I use it to kind of track, what I'm working on. And now I don't have to necessarily hold myself to the fire, but it's a really great way for me to just visually see when I'm opening up my phone for the day, what I've done. It's been like, oh crap, I haven't worked on my game at all. It reminds me to go, oh hey, I need to go check that out. There's a lot of different ways too. I mean, it depends on who you are as a person. That's the hard thing. It's like giving specific advice is hard without knowing you as a person. But for me, my struggle wasn't necessarily moving on to new projects. I actually have been working on this project for like 4 or 5 years, but like I said, as a learning project / hobby. So it's not been constant development. But when I decided I was going to do constant development, it was, understanding that there will be days when I get tired and worn out and I just am not in the mood to work on it. And instead of forcing myself to work on it on those days, I would treat it like a cheat day, like people do with food. I would say, okay, I'm not going to work on it today, but maybe Saturday I'm going to spend an extra 2 hours working on it. Like today is my makeup day. I didn't work on it over the weekend, so I could relax and watch some YouTube and just, spend time with the wife and the son. So today I've been spending a lot of extra time on it. Basically, since I got off the clock at 5 o'clock, I started up the stream. And I already had the game loaded in the background, been working on it. I was just getting the stream settings set up. And so for me, this is a way for me to keep myself accountable. I'm basically taking back the time that I lost over the weekend. Now, as far as components or inheritance, it's not as simple as one or the other. The way I like to think about it is, if it is something that multiple classes can do, I think of it in terms of a component. To me, that's a component. Unless it's class specific, I'm going to make it a component. Inheritance is great for when you want to do things that one class can do that its parent cannot. So you create a base class, right? It can do a lot of things. It's going to have its control component. It's going to have movement components. You're going to have all kinds of different things. So using my game as an example, right? My game is a space game. So if I go in here into my AI, ship AI, I have a base ship and a frigate PD. The frigate PD is inheriting from my base class because my base class is not necessarily a ship that I'm going to spawn in. Base class is not a type of ship. Instead, it's what contains all of the fundamental logic. It's going to have things like the radar system, because while different ships are going to have like different strengths of radar, overall, almost every ship is going to have some kind of radar. Even like, very small light craft are going to have a small type of radar. It's inescapable. Now, you can even have types and things like that, but for me, I'm just keeping it simple in that everything that every ship can do is going to be here on the parent class. This is going to be how I handle, everything that exists. And then inheritance is going to be great for breaking down ships into those distinct groups. So, an example here, begin play, I want to do the same begin play as parent, but then I've got my set up PDCs. Yes, yeah. So once you got your abstract based classes and you're using components there, correct. They're not competing. It's a combination, right? So like as an example, right? So I've got this inherited class and I have all of these inherited components, but I could then add extra components on top of there. And I could even, in theory, I could even have these components be abstract classes that then can have even different versions of themselves. Because in my mind, it's meant to be components in a base class are giving you your default logic, and then anything that is going to be more complex or different or is ship specific, you want to do on the individual ship. Now, the way you kind of tweak that is, for me, for ease of designing, to make my life easier when I'm creating these different classes. If it's something that's not going to be that far different, for example, ammo stores, all ships are going to have some type of ammo storage, right? So therefore, that's part of the base class, because even a ship that's a civilian ship can have an ammo store. It's just an empty ammo store. And that makes my life easier, because then I don't have to worry about adding an ammo store to each and every single ship class that is derivative from the base. Instead, the base has it, and then every single inherited class is going to have it by default. And then I, as a designer, get to choose how much it has and the way that it's set up. And then I can add a component. If it's a civilian class, right? Civilian class ship may have some kind of special kind of mechanic around boarding ships. So let's say they have a special mechanic where civilians can go get on a station, right? They can empty a civilian ship onto a station, and maybe that gets the player points. And so what I can do then is a civilian ship would be an inherited class that then would have its own special component that could then do that action. It could put the civilians on the station. But that's something that I don't want almost any other ship to be able to do. It's only for civilian ships. So in that case, it makes more sense to have a component specifically for them that's not part of the inherited base class. But yeah. All right, I'm gonna go, because I did shrink those missile icons. I'm gonna go see if I can get those to show off. All right. Yeah, no problem, man. Like I said, I enjoy helping people out and discussing these kind of things, because there's so many people that are just wanting to learn, and I'm here for that. Okay, so that did help, but I still need to shrink them a bit more, I think. This still seems pretty big, so let's drop these down to, I shrank it by 5, so let's shrink it by another 10, make it real tiny. All right, and let's launch off some missiles. Let's see here. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe they don't seem to be getting smaller. I wonder if they're being... Okay, so let's try shrinking this down now that I've gotten that, because it may be a case of I've shrinking it too far in the actual missile, and it's not getting smaller because the widget itself isn't getting smaller. And then maybe sort of just the draw size limit there. So let's actually just shrink that down and fire off some missiles. Let's see, how does that do? Yeah, there we go. Perfect. I may want to increase those later, but that at least will do for now. But yeah, that way you can see when enemy missiles are coming in. They'll be highlighted red. I'll probably do something similar for the railgun rounds, because right now you fire them off, but you don't actually see where they go. They just kind of disappear into the ether. The railgun rounds may actually hit before... They might have hit before the missile. Sweet. Alright. I will make this a little bit bigger, because I think I do want it a little bit bigger. We'll still leave that at min size. Alright. So if I wanted to have the railguns to have a bigger size, let's go here. Railgun, projectile round, because I believe this is the... Yeah, okay, this is the round I use. And we'll just add a widget here. And this is going to be the identifier. And we're going to make that one screen as well. I think we made it 10 by 10 on the missiles. And that may be a little big, maybe get 5 by 5. 'Cause I believe that still affects the widget size, but we'll see. And then this is probably gonna, yeah. I don't have it here. I've not needed the IFF for these, so let me actually go in here. I wonder, can I do a default? No, yeah, it's just a 3. I guess, oh, I should probably make the... Don't worry about it for now. Whatever it defaults to is what it defaults to. And let's just see. I can always add the color in later if I want to. It will probably be a little hard to see just because the railgun rounds themselves are a little hard to see, but let's let that load in. Alright, whoops. Got a little bit of a mess over here. Need to grab some paper towels here in a second. Alright. Grab this and fire. Well, that was a little hard to see, to say the least. Mostly because those lines are in the way. I wonder, I might just hide those for now, because I mean, I'm not working on the railguns anyways anytime soon. So let's go railgun, auto aim, railgun. That was one of my goals, I believe, is to work on the railgun, right? Sorry, not railgun. Alright, so we completed another mission over here. Let me mark that text. So I need to do the effects from the slider, but we have completed the friendly foe marker. And actually, I'm going to also add another line. We'll say add icon to railguns. There we go. I'll mark it as finished for now because this should be pretty much good to go once we have this completed. Alright, here we go. And we'll do none. I don't need any more line trace by channels. Yeah. So we go here. Go to sandbox. Full screen it. There we go. Alright, let's see. I got 4 turrets aimed correctly. Okay. So I didn't see them. See if I can see them on this other launch. Yeah, they're moving fast, but let me do this. If I see if I can trigger it and then pause. What we'll do is we'll detach, hit pause, hit resume. All right. Okay, yeah, they're not, although, ooh, that's kind of weird. They look like cubes. They aren't supposed to normally look like cubes. Am I? Yeah, so it is projectile child railgun rounds. They have a widget screen. I'm gonna do 10 by 10. Yeah, that doesn't seem to affect it. Good 500 by 500, yeah. Nothing there either. Okay, let's take a look. So why are these not getting the widget? I change this back to world. Yeah, see, they're supposed to be like elongated like this. By default, it should show the white ones. It should just not have a color. Ah, I see. It's because it's a child of the thing, so it's actually inside of the railgun projectile. Okay. So let's go ahead and yeah, see, this is all jank. I think this got mixed up in some tweaking I was doing. Some changes I made to how the railgun system works. And what we'll do is, so for this, I did 0.4, 0.4, and then 4 times. The 4 times we can ignore because that is on the x-axis, which this doesn't have. Say 4 times, 4 times. Oh, that's right, yeah, this is usually 1. Alright. I'm gonna drop doing it on real course and need to focus. Thanks for, hey, no problem, man. If I'm still online, definitely check me out. But otherwise, good luck, good hunting. Okay, that's better, but a little too big. Let's shrink this back down to 50 by 50. Sweet. Okay. So we'll do this. We'll just have the projectiles. Should we say about an event? Yeah, I think so. So let's do how we do in the missile. So update icon text and gameplay. Promote to variable. Grab this. Make this expose on spawn. Go convert to purecast. Auto aim program. So aim turret. And then there's going to be a fire. clear. So that's where I spawned some of these guys. So if I've done this correctly, you should see some green icons come flying out. Yep. Well, bam. Sweet. All right. So now we got the railguns going. All right. So let's take a look. So, now we need to do the effects on the slider. The PDC thing may have to wait because there's a lot that's gonna have to go into that. Because they just outright crashed the game, but that may be fixed now that I fixed the shadow maps issue. But we'll see. Alright. I also wanted to create a railgun effect. Let me go right here. Yeah, cause I think I'm going to ignore the PDC stuff for now, just because it's going to be a hell of a headache. So I'm going to come here and create railgun firing animation and effect. Alright, so let's go ahead and work on that. So animation should be relatively easy. I can do just some basic static mesh animation. The hard part is going to be the actual flash. I was playing around with some Niagara effects, but I'm just not liking the way they look. Let's see. In fact, this one's just kind of lagging out. What the hell's going on? Okay. Oh, it's because this is also set to cinematic. Set that down to epic. Alright. Close all of these. Okay. So let's actually go look at some Niagara effects. Some of the built-in engine ones, and see if we can find anything that might be repurposable. So let's see. let's go ahead and do. What if I just took this, changed it to be more. Yeah, because I'm not opposed to this, although I don't like the cloud effects. Let's see. Is that this one? No. Oh, this has some errors. What's the errors here? It's got deprecated modules. Is it initialized particle? It says it's no longer needed. Okay. I'm assuming initialized particle as well. Initialized particle. And initialized particle. Okay. Although it says that, and then that looks completely different. So what are these instead of initialized particle? Oh, there's two different ones. That's why I bet this is using the wrong one, but it doesn't tell me which this one is, which would be useful to know. And it used to be you could hit a button to fix that. Let's do initialize. I'll do this maybe. Yeah. See, these all like look jank now because the new initialized particle is just not correct. If I move these up, no, it doesn't seem to change anything. So what's the difference? So this had lifetime of 1.8 to 3.3. Let's do. See if it's a random. So this is 1.8 to 3.3, I believe it was. Check. 1.8 to 3.3, yeah. And this had 50, 50, 1. Scale, color. Sprite rotation. Min 5, max 6. Alright. And what was the original size? The mass was 0.4 to 2. I think that's what it was using for size. Doesn't necessarily look correct, but What's this omniverse look like? If I open this up. Oh yeah, it's material. Let's see. Yeah, not a fan of this. It does not seem to be working quite how I expect it to. Let's see. Let's see. All have these damn same warnings. Unfortunately, none of these things. Oh, this one I can just fix. And this one does not. Let's see. So -50. Okay, it's a little better. Let me up the spawn rate just a little bit since we're doing faster. I'd say we probably want instantaneous burst, right? Or maybe not. Spawn rate. Maybe it's 100. One second. we go. Yeah, I'm not feeling any of these friggin'. Of course, half of them are broken because of all changes to Niagara. Yeah. And it's all a bunch of like, these are deprecated. It's like, I feel like converting these shouldn't be too hard, but it's a linear color, user color. User color. This one might be able to be salvageable. Initialize. Alright. I'll do these the same. User color. And user color. Of course, the color isn't working for all of it. So 2 of these work. 1 of these does not. Let's see, the easiest way to tell we deactivate. Okay, so it's not that one. It's this one, okay. Yeah. That made me want to spend a little more time on off camera, trying to dig through and figure out how I want to do my railgun particles. But yeah, so we'll ignore that for now. So let's just go in and go to my railgun. We'll just do a little animation here. So it goes boom. So when it fires, I want it to play the animation. So let's do, to hold this spot, say print string, play animation. And it's going to trigger off an event, custom event. Fire railgun. And we're going to have an int barrels. Fire. Do a switch. Alright, so it's 0, nothing happens. I guess I do barrel 0 through 4, so that'll be fine. It shouldn't trigger this if it doesn't actually fire. So, make sure I got this right. So if I'm grabbing this, it will boom. All right. So timeline. This barrel. Recoil. Add a float check. Call this recoil float. So we'll do at 0, it's going to be 0 recoil. At 1 second, it's going to be, we'll say 10 degrees recoil. For now, we can always smooth those out or something later once we make sure it's working. That question is, can we override this? I guess we trigger here, we'll do, oops. Yeah, we'll have a Boolean. That's just recoil active. Come in, set true. And then once it's finished, it'll set it to false. And we'll go in here and we'll still let it calculate, but we won't let it aim the turret. Through this way, at least the branch, and like if recoil active is false, carry on, but otherwise we're going to ignore this. I do think I want to take the aim turret, see if maybe we can reuse this. So we just get, maybe not. What if we just did let's grab all of this. All right, so to make the rotator, we will be triggering this. We're gonna make it. We're gonna interpret to it. Get our current. And do this. All right, and then maybe what we can do is on here, get the relative rotation here. Start recoil brought barrel one. I'm going to optimize this a little bit later, but just to quickly prototype this out. We'll grab this and we'll come in here, and this is going to update. It's going to start. This is the start rotator. And we're going to pitch it up plus 10. For now, we can always change that later. And then the current is just going to be this again. And we don't need to do the break make. We're not doing any clamping, so we can skip out on all that. Oh, and then barrel net one. So, if I've done this right, should come in here, and I'm going to do this so no matter how many barrels are fired, come in here, we try to play, and does the recoil. And then when it's done, it tries to re-aim. Should work. Let's find out. Oh, probably help if I actually plug the function in somewhere. So fire railgun, you need to do here. Oh, sorry, not aim turret. We need to do it. Remove a bunch of these. So when we call fire turret, we can call recoil. Actually, fire railgun. Okay, so can I actually call this railgun fire railgun? Yeah. And for now, we'll just say all 4 fired. And in fact, in here, I'm gonna just do barrel nut 2, barrel nut 3 for now. Since we're just testing, we'll just rotate all of them. All right. All right, let's see here. Called the event. It almost seemed to move, so it might be moving, just not far enough. So let's do something more extreme. say like 90 degrees. So that'll really throw it off. No, it's not moving. Okay. So let's see. So I'm fine. Recall active set to true, which means the aiming should not happen. Oh wait. Recall active is false. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go to here. Get the relative rotation as a starting recall rock barrel. Hit play. Add a breakpoint here. So let's try. It is firing 4 times. So let's try and move this to elsewhere. So it only fires the once. All right, let's see here. So this calls this. Or straight like 120. Kind of weird thing not seeming to fire. It's calling the print string. Oh, you know what? I'm a dingus. Needs to be this multiplied by the 120. Yes, otherwise it's not actually getting any kind of updated values. That should. But it was just. I still think it should have done something. But we'll see. Okay, yeah, so, okay. So it wasn't that. Unplug that for now. All we do instead of 1 second, we'll say 5. And since that is 10 is the value, we want to multiply this by 12 instead. That way we get 120 for the total rather than that'd be like 1020. Let's see. Let me just print out whatever's coming back so we can see if it's actually returning something other than like 0 or something. Okay. Progress. It's not triggering at all. Negative progress, but still progress. So yeah, so it's just never firing. Okay, so why not? Is it because of where I'm calling this? Yeah, because this can't be called here. What if I did create event call event? Yeah. Why can't it? It should ought to be able to be triggered right here. Here, why don't we just call it off here to do fire ribbon. I just realized I had this as a 4, and there isn't a pin for 4. That's gonna be the problem. I'm a big old dingus. Off by 1 error for the win. The question is, does this work? Yep. Alright. So, that fixed that. So we're gonna go back in here, change this back down to like 1 second. Make this like 1 second. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. Let's also plug back in that pool, so it'll reset back. Yeah, I think it needs to be even shorter time frame, so we'll say time is 0.2 seconds, actually 0.1 second. So it's like bam. Probably to make the angle it goes a little less extreme, but we'll get there when we get there. Let's see here. Okay, that's better. Probably make this a little more extreme. Let's set this up to like 90. And then here, set times it by 12. For now, we'll just times it by 1 because we want to be able to tweak it later. Let's see. Bloop. Okay. It's not going very far, but I also think that's, you know, it's just not getting enough time. So, yeah. We want it to be a sharp, speedy move, so we'll give it just like a bit more time at 0.25. 0.25. And then what I might do is on here, I think this is going to be the way progress this turn speed. So we'll remove this turn speed and just have the interrupt speed be instant. That might make it a little bit too fast, but let's just see what that looks like with it cranked real fast. All right. Yeah, okay. That's better. A little extreme, but better. In fact, I think it actually kind of broke it a little bit. All right. So let's give it interrupt speed. We had 20 originally, so we're going to set something like 80. So it's going to boof and then back. But yeah, maybe we'll drop this from 90, maybe like 40. So it's boom. Okay. So that gives me the boom. We can always tweak that a little bit later. So now we need to do the in-way movement. So honestly, 40 might be good. We just gotta do the interp. Instead of an R interp, we're gonna do a F interp 2. Get delta time, also do 80. Current is going to be the better not get location. So yeah, because we're going to want to get not necessarily the barrel nut, but the barrel itself, and just scooch it back on, looks like the X, yeah. So, ka-choosh, ka-choosh. Okay. So reset that. So what we can do is, since we're going to go into that high number, we'll actually have this go straight to here, and then this will be by 10. This will be based on the break vector. Call this start recoil barrel 1 location. Like I said, we'll probably tweak this later or remove like these sort of variables for now, but I wanted to do this. So go boom. We can even have it reverse, I guess, when we have it finished. But I'm not too worried about that. Okay. And then we'll do, it's going to be the target is going to be get this plus, I guess it would be minus, oops, wrong button, subtract this. That is the target, and then the current is just to do this again. Although it's not going to be barrel nut, that's right. I need to get the actual barrel itself. So barrel nut 1 has barrel 1. Barrel 1. Alright. So the current is this X. And then we'll do set relative location. So we'll go here and we'll split. So the relative location is going to be the Y and the Z, and then this X. All right. See what that looks like. See if that's salvageable, if we need to add some changes here. Turrets turn and fire. Okay, so the up and down movement worked, but not the forward backwards. Why is that? Let's lower the speed down to like 1. Yeah. I wonder, this recoil, what is the value? It's actually return, it's return 40, so yeah. 40 times 10 is 400, so it should be removing quite a bit. Let's go more extreme with this multiplier. And then I also want to probably print it out. So we get rid of this printout and print out this one. So what my goal is it should go rotate up while pulling backward. Let's see. It is going backward, but not to the extent I'd like to see. Oh, you know what? I wonder, am I not doing all of the barrels? Ah, yeah, I'm only doing barrel 1. Okay, let me grab the other barrels. It could be that I'm just not seeing the barrel that's moving because it's on the other side. So let's grab, whoops, not barrel nut 3, barrel 3. Alright, so now we got barrel 1, barrel 3, and barrel 2. Let's see here. That should fix it. Because I'm just not seeing the correct barrel that's moving. Alright, so it turns. And skadoosh. Let's see. I don't have anything to move it back forward, so it should keep scooting back every time it fires. Okay, so it is working, but not by far enough. But I think I can fix that by upping this amount so that it interps further. So what's happening is it's getting cut off. And then once I get this figured out, then I can work on returning it back to its rightful position. So we'll go skadoosh. Okay, perfect. So what we can do is, instead of doing by 100, we'll just do by like 10, like I originally had intended. So let me see, that should be enough, right? Negative 400. Let me go a little further. We can hit like a negative 2000. That'll get us in pretty much the sweet spot in terms of visibility. So if it goes to 40, this goes to 400. So yes, one more will be 4,000, but we don't want that far, so we divide that by 2, so it'll be 50. That should get us roughly negative 2,000 at max, and then yeah, let's see what that looks like. Alright, turrets are turning, and then alright. Still a little far, but that's definitely closer to what I want. So we'll do like half that distance. So instead of times 50, we'll do like times 25. Now to undo this, I think what might actually be better is if we did, so when this is finished, so the hard part is knowing which way we're going. So we want to fire it. Then I wonder, what if we added a, so if we come in here and add like a sequence right here, sequence. So it starts off at 0, but then we'll have a delay of like 0.5 or something like that. Let me actually scoot all this around. So we'll say, well, so this is 0.25, right? That's how long this thing is? Yeah, 0.25. So 0.25, that's when it's finished. So we'll do reverse from end. And then we'll have another delay that is a 0.5. And when this one is done, we'll then trigger the recoil active to be false, basically resetting the whole system. So I've done this right. They should fire backwards and retreat the barrels, and then return them back to normal. It did kind of jump a little bit. So I may need to tweak the recoil sort of trigger. Yeah, well, I'm not opposed. Maybe not as extreme of an angle. So maybe to this one we'll have a multiplier of like 0.5. So we'll do like half. So it's not going up as much because I'd rather go in further than up because sort of absorbing the recoil. So we fire. Skadoosh. Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then. Yeah. Cool. And that makes sense to me. So when they're done, they'll rotate back facing forward. All right. Of course, I'll need to do a little bit of cleaning up there around how they actually, you know, there we go. But yeah, I'll need to do a little cleaning up because they are going to act a little bit funky. Whenever it fires like 1 or 2 rounds, but otherwise, I think it should be pretty good. All right. I need to save this layout. I think it deleted my layout from the last time. All right. So I think that's pretty much it for me today. I've got a lot more I need to do in my spare time, but hopefully my Steam page should be up soonish, so we'll see. But thanks for sticking around, y'all, those of you who are here, but good luck and good hunting.